Is this the wormhole? It's insane.
Hey, my name is Mr. S, and as a fan of very horror stuff myself, I'm gonna bring you the most scariest and mysterious stories from all around the world on my Scary channel. So do not forget to subscribe and like for an amazing horror and mysterious stuff that will haunt you, scare you like a little child on a winter's night when no one's around. So best of luck.
This has been hard because it's a huge amount of work, a huge amount of data and equipment. But I'm getting really excited because David Mason tells me he recorded a flurry of rating objects falling down from the sky.
What do you guys got?
We've got something really interesting here, Gary. Now watch the screen. What we have is objects that appear to be dropping from the sky. And you see that? It's just there momentarily, and looks like they're actually dropping into the ocean. And
that's crazy.
And I've looked at this and I'm thinking, could this be a camera artifact? However, there's a transition of decay time. So this is very strange.
So could these be like ice forming and dropping into the water, or I mean?
No, because what we're also seeing is it's transitioning where it's appearing in the field of view momentarily and then disappearing. But it's clearly having a trajectory that's downward.
I'm seeing them come in and then out and then in again when they hit the water.
It looks like they hit the water. It looks like they illuminate in the water.
That's amazing.
There were dozens of such tracks like this, which correlate not only with high energies, but also high rates in the cosmic watch.
After we examined the videos that we recorded, we were able to calculate the size of the objects based on the camera field of view and the distance of the horizon. We found that the objects were at least 4 feet across and falling at least at 5,000 miles an hour. And the objects that were distant were measured out at 69 feet across and falling at a speed of at least 84,000 miles per hour. So even if we were off in calculations by 50%, we have some extraordinary numbers that can't explain this phenomenon as being something natural or known.
Hey, you guys, what are you up to?
They're showing me some basically objects falling from the sky to the ocean. They found some correlating data with the radiation detection. And I mean, honestly, it reminds me of the stuff we were seeing in '04.
Wow, Tic Tacs. The Navy Tic Tacs.
Navy.
Caught on our cameras.
Yep.
That's incredible.
I mean, the fade out makes it look like it is really something
Correct.
dropping from the sky based on the way it fades out.
That's great. Wow, we got a lot of stuff, actually.
Honestly, I'm very surprised about everything that we've got.
You know, David, yesterday we were doing all the night vision stuff.
We just continuously broadcast this over ultraviolet spectrum and white spectrum and infrared spectrum.
So let's say we provoked it.
We provoked it.
On this hand, it's ours, and on this hand, it's not ours. And the answer lies somewhere in between. So my mind right now is open. If it turns out to be our stuff or some other country stuff, I'm good with that. Okay, I have my answer. If it turns out to be something not from this planet, I'm good with that too. Okay, I have my answer now.
That's stuff, knowledge, information, engineering that right now, to my knowledge, nobody on this planet knows how to do. Right? So that suggests that it's somebody from some other place has done this, or maybe other time.
I think that's an important point. You mentioned earlier the multiple cases. You mentioned the Bethune case. That's from 1951. And you've got these objects moving at very high accelerations and taking off at high speeds. The pilot estimated it is leaving at about 1,500 miles an hour, and it was tracked on radar from Newfoundland at 1,800 miles an hour. This is 2 years before the airspeed record of 695 miles an hour was broken. So this thing is moving 3 or 4 times faster than the airspeed record.
There are also now declassified reports, thanks to FOIA, mentioning flying white butane tanks. That sounds like a lot like a Tic Tac to me, and that was the late 40s, early 50s.
Well, let me put this in perspective. Einstein, Rosen, and Podolsky came up with these concepts in the 1905 timeframe into later about 1913. So in about 100 years is all that humanity has had a basic construct to say faster than light travel, wormholes, warp drives are even possible. And it wasn't until 1994 that someone was clever enough, Alcubierre, came up with the warp physics that says, okay, well, the physics we've learned since 1905 tells us, okay, maybe it is possible to do what they do in Star Trek and other science fiction movies and books. But that's only 100 to 120 years.
Yeah.
Not
The
thousands,
universe
not
is
millions.
13.7 billion years old. There's a civilization somewhere near us that's thousands of years old. Their Einstein was 10,000 years ago, for example. So where does that put them now?
What if you have multiple civilizations and they have different technologies and they use different
Of course
things?
they do.
The other thing that happens is space gets compressed because the distance is shorter. Space isn't empty. You've got about one hydrogen atom per cubic meter. So as you compress space at very high speeds, you're no longer flying through a vacuum, you're flying through a cloud. At close to the speed of light, it's gonna rip your ship apart in no time, unless you have a technology that allows you to travel through matter without affecting it, like we actually see here with,
That is an excellent point.
crafts moving through the air without sonic booms or moving through water without splashes. We observe that.
That's the other counter that's always given.
Data.
The past 5 days have been very hard and very exciting. We managed to capture multiple anomalies in multiple locations across multiple devices in real time. This is a first in the field of ufology. What are the odds that we would capture the exact Navy Tic Tacs that these guys saw over their ship in 2004? Now it's up to the scientists to continue analyzing the data over the next few weeks and tell us more about the properties of these objects and what this phenomenon is really about. Hey, you guys, we made it.
Hey, glad you're here.
You're gonna need to sit down for this because it's pretty mind-blowing.
Wow.
So grab a seat.
Okay, we want anomalies. Is this like very different?
Yeah, and the story starts with the list of anomalous events in the Cosmic Watch. So I made a list of all events that were either high in energy, high in rate, or both. So the highest energy we recorded in the Cosmic Watch was 43.37 mega electron volts, MeV. So that's the highest we recorded the entire week. 8's sort of like the maximum for terrestrial radiation. 2 MeV is more average.
Oh, wow.
That high energy event I just mentioned was at 4:01 a.m.
Right.
At 3:59 a.m., this is what the UFO DAP recorded. There's a hole in the clouds, which is not abnormal to have a hole in the clouds that closes, but notice those strange dots within it. And also, if you go frame by frame, it closes in a fraction of a second. That seems to be too fast for natural cloud formations.
For clouds to move in and close the hole, they would have had to be going something like 700 miles an hour.
How far away was it?
Yeah, so it's basic trigonometry. We're using the known angles, so we know which direction the camera's aiming. We know the field of view of the camera, and that hole was about 18 degrees above the horizon. And so given a cloud ceiling of about 1,700 feet, you can say that that hole was about 1.2 kilometers off the coast. And so it's an elliptical hole.
Okay.
It's about 0.4 kilometers long and then about 0.1 kilometers wide. It looks like it's a hole in the clouds, or it could be a false streak cloud. Those are typically happen when you have very high altitude clouds and a section of the cloud that then spontaneously freezes, and then the crystals fall out and leaves a hole in the cloud. That isn't possible in this case because the cloud ceiling was only 1,700 feet and it wasn't cold enough for it to be that kind of cloud. A hole like that could also be explained from an airplane or another aircraft flying through the clouds that can cause a hole as well. We didn't have any aircraft going through at the time, and the UFO DAP cameras didn't pick up any craft. Now, the cameras did start recording because they detected something.
But when Jeremy slowed it down, there's also a new dot that appears in the last couple frames.
Yeah, the dots,
Oh.
there are a
So
few
the-
dots appearing, yeah.
Yeah, but
throughout
there's
the
one
time.
fresh,
Oh,
there's one lonely
one at
dot,
the end,
fresh
yeah.
dot that appears.
Did you check the radiation data with any outside organizations?
We did. We looked at the data from Fermi, the NASA spacecraft that looks at gamma ray bursts from distant astrophysical phenomena. There's no correlation there. We did have to check also for solar activity. This event is not correlated with the solar activity.
So what about the FLIR? Anything with the FLIR?
Unfortunately, the FLIR, about 7 minutes before this event took place, all 8 FLIR cameras shut down. We lost power. And power was distributed from 2 different sources.
I don't think it's a coincidence, though. This really bothers me because it reminds me of how the phenomenon is often associated with electromagnetic
Yeah.
anomalies that cause things to break, cars to turn off, and things
Yeah.
like that. That I think it's really convenient that
Yeah.
the FLIR went down.
How about the people who would say, well, maybe there's something malfunctioning with the camera? What would you say to that?
We actually have, several minutes before the video we looked at, we have another video that doesn't have the speckles but has the hole several minutes before. But then even better, we have, the entire week's worth of UFO DAP video and imagery where it's functioning perfectly. It's triggering on birds, it's triggering on planes, and it even has a built-in classification system where it says percentage probability it's a plane or a bird. Not only that, we also have direct controls from a nearly identical part of the sky, day and time, no hole, just clouds, and the camera's functioning perfectly normally. So there's just too many strange coincidences here with all the different events that stack together. I mean, it's really easy to take one video and say it's this or that, or it's not really anomalous because it can be anything. But it can't be anything because we've done these calculations and we have these correlations. So it's extremely unlikely that it was a malfunction in the camera.
Was there any correlative data with like weather radar or anything like that?
Yeah, we were able to obtain weather radar. Just before 4 o'clock, you see a large clump of area where you have a lot of turbulence, and so this is correlated with the presence of that hole. The radar shows that there was actually reflective objects in the area. High-energy particles and gamma rays would have bombarded the entire CCD chip on the camera, resulting in spots uniformly spread across the image. As a result, these really appear to be physical objects somehow appearing or materializing in the hole in the clouds. The radar returns suggest that we are seeing the objects through the hole in the clouds at a distance of about 5 kilometers away. Thus, the objects are most likely about 35 to 50 feet in size, which is the estimated size of the Tic Tac objects in the 2004 Nimitz encounter.
Wow.
If you have something anomalous in different devices at the same time, that reduces the probability. This is why, for example, I've never bought into the claims that the Nimitz encounter, that was just, the radar didn't work. So then the pilot's eyes were also deceiving them. At the exact same time, the radar wasn't working properly. And the radar wasn't working properly at the exact same time the FLIR cameras wasn't. It's just so absurd to claim that multiple devices and multiple different imaging modalities were all conveniently malfunctioning at the same time, telling you the same thing. That is absolutely insane.
Well, with all this, what is it?
Because of how it looks like a hole that is open and then closing, we called it a wormhole, which got me obviously extremely excited. However, we have to be careful because that would be obviously a major scientific discovery that would require a great deal more evidence than what we have. Worst case, if it's not something tied in with our main goal of looking for evidence of non-human intelligence, this is a new phenomenon that no one's ever discovered. This is an unidentified, unclassified new phenomenon.
We are adding to the UAP unidentified.
We're adding to the
aerial-
lexicon
Yes.
of unidentified objects.
Wow.
I forgot who it was who stated, most scientific discoveries don't begin with eureka. They begin with, huh. That's exactly what we have here. It's one of those, huh, what the heck is that moments.